All right, hey, how are you everybody? So today we're gonna talk a little bit about Discord and how you can use the platform to grow your community and build the player base for either your game or your own development studio. So who am I? My name is Vlad. I'm from one of the co-founders of another indie, so we're a publisher based in Asia, in Taiwan and China. So I used to work at EA Games way back in the day. I used to be a QA manager there, so we worked on Army of Two, Need for Speed Carbon, FIFA. Later on, also was engineer for Microsoft. And about 5-6 years ago, me and two of my other friends, we founded another indie when we were all in Xiamen in China, and that's when we started working with indie game and publishing them worldwide and helping out the developers to reach the worldwide market, especially Asian and underrepresented ones here, because it's very hard for everybody to make a push to the West since everything is so much different. So, all right, let's get crack-a-lacking. So what is Discord? I assume most of you already know what it is, but it's pretty much a mixture between Skype and TeamSpeak. If you remember, it's sort of kind of IRC, internet relay chat mixture, but more modernized. So you can chat with people, you can voice call, video calls, and pretty much every gamer on the planet uses one right now. So it's like a daily tool that most gamers use, and you really want to have it part of your pipeline as well when you're working on your game. So that's the place where you want to funnel all of your community because of all of its features, and it's just so convenient. So the reason to use the Discord, it's cross-platform. So it's available. It works on PC, it works on Mac, it works on mobile phones. It's all streamlined. It's all very nice and pretty straightforward. You have voice chats as well, so you can talk to people online. They just rolled out a video feature as well, so if you want, you can have video calls with your friends inside your servers, or you can stream your own game in the server as well if you want to showcase some of the new features, or how you do artwork, or you can have group video calls as well. So it's pretty handy. It combines everything that you actually need to run a successful community. So you have all the tools, you just need to make it work on your end. So what we're going to be talking about is a few things I'm going to go over in general. Now, we only have 30 minutes, so I can't go in depth about everything, but I'll try to cover as much of the things as I can. So what you want to have first is obviously a clean and straightforward layout in your server. You don't want the thing to be cluttered, especially if you're just starting out and if you're working on your first game, or as a studio it's your first few titles, so you're just getting the people to join the server. You don't want the server to have 20 to 30 to 40 different channels, because then people join and they feel overwhelmed and they just leave, or they mute the server and they never talk in it. So first, when people join, you want to have a lean, clean, straightforward layout, maybe only a few channels, so people can get to know you or your project or your game. And as time goes on, you can obviously modify the layout, but in the beginning you want to keep it simple, just not to overburden the first initial visitors. Another thing that's very important and it's widely used in Discord is bots. So for that, you can either write your own, but there are also a plethora of other bots that are available for free that we are going to go over a few of them as well, which we use in our own server, which can help you boost interactivity, help with moderation, and help getting community engaged with your specific games. Another interesting thing that we do in our server, and a lot of developers as well, and it's very useful, is have open and closed betas. So you can get the community engaged with your game early on, and it gives them a sense of being actually useful and participating in the development and the release of the product. And as a developer yourself, you would get valuable feedback directly from the gamers, what they feel about the game, and you'll also get some of bug reports. So you'll kind of make the community help you out with the process, and it's a nice way to keep them interested and engaged. And like I mentioned before, you get valuable feedback as well. Now, ARG, I did not know how to say that in Chinese. So it's augmented reality games. So what that means, you set up some sort of an event or interaction in your server that connects to your game or to your project you're working on. So it could be, for example, as a text-based adventure where people, they have different choices that they can pick in the text, in the server, in the channel, and then depending on their choices, the story progresses. So it's a good way to get your community engaged and invested in the game before it's released. So they're already taking part of the story, they're playing this mini game, and once that is going on, leading up to the release, you will have more interactivity and people will be more interested. And when the game comes out, they will already be wanting to buy it because they spent the past few weeks or a month, depending how long you run the event, playing this prequel to your game, so they won't want to miss out. So they will buy the game when it comes out because they already spent so much time playing it in the server. And all these things combined, you get the nice little boost of interactivity and community and engagement. So that's what we're all looking for. So here's an example of our server, like the front page. So on the top you see we have like the member count and how many people are online. So these little perks, they kind of help stand out. So at the moment what you see is already when a person joined the server and they unlocked a bunch of channels. But the initial thing that you want to have when they first join is like this welcome post. So you describe who you are, what you do, what are your games. So for example, in our case, because we're a publisher, we list that we are a publisher, how we publish, how we work, and then right there's a list of all the games we work with links to Steam pages so that people can easily check them out and see for themselves. So what you want to have initially when you set up your server, so the first thing you want to have is like an intro channel, so which you just saw in the previous slide, which talks about your company, about your game, and links to your social media, to your game profile. So it's easy for people that join to actually figure out what's the server all about, and what's the game about, what's the situation with the company. Then you want to have an FAQ, so the questions channel pretty much, where you break down essentially the rules for the server, what you can and you can't do, and maybe a few common questions if it's just one game, like which platforms it's going to be releasing, estimated release dates, and some rules for moderation so people know not to be, no harassments, no abusive, no sexism, nothing like that. So also rules for what type of languages you want to use, for example, in your server. So in our case, it would be Russian, Chinese, and English, because that's where the majority of our community comes from. And another important channel you really want to have is the announcements channel. So you can see it on the top left. It's like this little loudspeaker icon. Later on, I'll explain how to make that one. But the important thing of that channel is that the way the Discord is set up now, people who join the server, they can follow the announcement channel. So that means every time you post an announcement in that channel, it automatically gets reposted to the servers of the people who followed the channel. So think of it a little bit kind of like Twitter. If you follow somebody and they post something, you see it on your timeline. So in this case, if people follow that channel, they see all your posts in their specific channel in their server. So that gives you extra visibility beyond the reach of your personal server, but it expands into other servers, which might have members that are not in your server, so you get that extra reach. So what we would normally use the announcements for, game release, game announcement, obviously. If we have new trailers, if we have new artwork, or we have some competitions going on, or events, or sales, things like that. Now, you don't want to abuse it as much, because I know some people paying the announcement channel 4 or 5 times a day. Now that's going to piss a lot of people off, and nobody likes that. But a few times a week is fine. There are always going to be people complaining about, because Discord has this thing where users really don't like when they get pings for some reason, which is a little bit silly, but it is what it is. But if you just limit it to a few times a week, it's absolutely fine. Just don't spam it like 10 times a day, then you're gonna lose a lot of members if you do that. So another important thing to keep in mind is reaction roles channel. So what that is like you see under the post, you can react with different little icons, and there's a system in place that you can click on the icon, and then depending on how you set it up, it can either give you a specific role or take away a role. So in our case, what we did to declutter the server, we hid certain channels and certain roles behind these reactions. So for example, if the person joins and their main language is Russian or Chinese, but in our server, everybody mostly speaks English. However, we made separate channels for only Chinese and Russian speakers. So if they want to join, they go to the point of access channel in our case, and they click on that little flag, little reaction, and it gives them the role, and that opens up the Chinese, Russian, or whatever channel for them where they can talk as well. So that helps these people to actually have a special place for them without actually cluttering the server for the other users who don't speak Russian or they speak Chinese, so they don't really need the use of those channels. So it also keeps the server clean for the majority of the users. And what we also added is special roles in case your game is a multiplayer game, or you have several games that are multiplayer focused. So in our case, for example, we have Retrograde and Lost Castle, which are multiplayer games. So in order for people to find other gamers to play with, we made these special roles where people can ping those roles if they want to find people to play together online. So that also gives them the ability to actually manage this and look for people themselves without pinging the whole server, because our server is about 15,000 people, and you don't want people spamming that all the time by themselves, asking if somebody wants to play XYZ game together, because not all of our community members have all of our games. Some of them are just for 1 or 2 games there. Most of them actually have the whole catalog. But this limits it to a certain group where people can join in or join out if they're interested. So then when they get the ping, it's not gonna blast the whole server. Another thing to keep in mind is to have a specific channels dedicated to your game. So in our case, this is very individual. If it's only just one game, you can just add that to the welcome channel or FAQ. But in our case, because as a publisher, we have a lot of different games we work with. So we make a separate channel for each one of them with just basic information that people can access. So for example, with Vigil, with Vigil, we add the picture, description from Steam, and then you add the links to Twitter, Facebook, social media, links to Steam where people can go in Wishlist. If it's on consoles, you can also add links to those as well. So people can easily find the information about the games they're interested in. And this also just makes it easier for everybody and for you to funnel all the people that are in your community to the places you want them to go to. So in this case, in our case, most of the time you'd want people to go to Steam to wishlist the game. So that hence these channels, and if everybody joins, like, oh, where can I find more information about X game? And you just link the channel in chat, they click there, and boom, all of their information is right there. Now, so I'm gonna talk a little bit of different channels you have. So basically you have a text channel, which is pretty straightforward. It's where people can talk, type. Voice channel, it used to be only for talking or using voice, but recently Discord rolled out the feature server-wide where you can also have video calls with each other now. So you can either stream in them if you want to show off your game, or you can have just conference video calls with each other with your webcam and have sort of a meeting or just a hangout session. Now, announcement channel is the one I said that you can use for all of your important things that you want to share with the server, and this is the channel that you can set up for other people to follow. Store channel is a little bit tricky now. Discord discontinued the store, so you can't sell games on it yet, but you can still use it to set up the betas and upload your builds, which I'll explain in a bit as well once we get to there. Right, so we'll talk about bots. So we use quite a few of them, like most of them are listed right over there. So, Gaius is good for moderation. We use bots for giveaways. We use bots for general interactivity and those fancy reaction roles that can give you access. Me6 is good for leveling. Another idiot is our own personal bot because we had to program one since we couldn't find one online that had the features we needed. So we just made our own. And StatBot is a very nice bot to use for statistics, tracking of your server, how many people join, how many people leave, which channels are most active, who's the most active members, things like that. Now, Discord has an analytics system in the backend, but it's not as good as you can get from this bot. But we'll go in more details right now. So what you can use the bots for? Like I already mentioned, reaction roles is very important. I can't stress this enough, especially with bigger servers, bigger communities. So like you see, you get those little icons you can set up for every post, and if people click on those icons, they will get a role based on their reaction. And with that, you can manipulate the access to different channels or the ability to ping different roles for either looking for group or like some game announcements or streamers, content creators, things like that. So another thing we use a lot is moderation, because once your server starts growing, obviously you will start getting not so pleasant people in it, not so many. So you'd want to have a bot that takes care of it, because obviously you can't have moderators online 24/7 monitoring every message. So we have a bot in place for that who tracks all the links, images, things, spam, flood, caps lock, emoji spam, things like that. So if people just join and start spamming links or invites to other servers, it automatically deletes them. And it has a nice log where you can see what happened in your server. So it's very nice to keep track of what's going on, and it helps you keep the server friendly and free of spam and flood. Another thing you want to look into is giveaways. So we use Discord default giveaway bot to just reward our players and our community. So we give away Discord Nitro, or we give away some of our games, or some other games, for example, from Humble Bundle. Like we have a monthly subscription, so all of the games we get from there, we just share it with our community. So it's a nice thing to keep. Obviously, you don't want to do it like every day and often, because then you'll just get people who are in your server sitting there and waiting for another giveaway and not actually, contributing to the community, but just lurking, waiting for free stuff. So, if you do it like once a week or 2-3 times a month, it's absolutely fine. Like with bigger servers, I guess you can do it more often, but if you're just starting up, you really don't want to focus on just giveaways, because it will attract the wrong type of people to your server. So another thing, like I mentioned with StatBot, is analytics. So some of the bots provide really good analytics, so you can understand how your server functions, and is it growing, is it not growing, which channels are more active, which channels are less active. And then, so you get good insight from that, because, like I said, you want a lean, clean layout, but the layout always evolves as your server and community grows. So in us, I usually change the layout of the server a few times a year at least, because some channels end up being dead, some channels end up being used more, and then, people request some things. So you always want to keep up to date in a sense of the layout, and have your community have an input in this as well. So having this statistics bot, you can actually see which channels are active or which channels are just has been dead for months and nobody talked in them, so you can just remove them. So when it comes to custom bots, we made a few special commands just for our game. So you can see here we have one for Vigil. So when a person types the command in chat, it pops up this message showing the game, explaining what the game is, what it's about, and there's links directly to Steam, there's links directly to the trailer, to the Twitter, Facebook page, and they click so they can check it right away. So it's also an extra convenience for the user, so you don't have to go scrolling through the channels if the server is too big, but they can just type it in chat and then boom, pops up right there, and they can see directly all the information about the game, and again, it funnels them directly to this team so they can go and you can get those valuable wish lists. Right, so there's a little bit of breakdown of bots we use. So we have Me6 is a good one that we use for XP. So the more people talk, the more levels you get. It's pretty much arbitrary, but it's pretty good to get the community hyped and engaged. Yet another general purpose Discord bot is the one we use for reaction roles. So that one's really nice to set up. It also has a few cool games in the backend if you want to add it to your server. Gaius Caesarius is the amazing one that we use for moderation. Now I highly recommend this one. It works wonders. Giveaway bot is pretty straightforward. It's if you just want to give away stuff for your community. And StatBot is the one we use for analytics, and that has been also a very valuable tool just to understand the health and the growth of our server. So you can just put in Google any of these names, they will link you directly to the websites, and you can just go and play around yourself and figure out which one works for you. Now let's talk about betas. Like I mentioned before, you can't sell it anymore, but if you go to discord.com/developers, you can still buy the developer license for 25, now that's American dollars, and that will enable you to still upload your game build and unlock the store channel in your server, and from there, like you see in those settings, you can set up a beta branch. So you won't be able to sell the game, but you will be able to have the game built online on Discord, and people will be able to access it for free and try it out. So this is one way of having an open or closed beta in your server. So you just have to sign up, pay the fee, and set it up in the backend. It's not very hard, it's pretty straightforward. So sorry, I was looking at the questions, but yes. So that's the way to do it. So you can't sell it anymore, but you can still set up beta channels, and you can give and remove access by having a permission set up for that specific channel, so people can join, and then we'll automatically see it or not. So let's quickly talk about ARG. Oh, it was a joke, I did write it down. So it's augmented reality games. So it helps a lot to keep your community engaged and active in the server. It also helps build up hype and interactions for people that are looking forward for the game to come out. And it makes the gamers in your server more invested in your product because they're spending time and they're playing this game. Helps boost wishlist. That's all what we're all about. And another thing is it will guarantee an X amount of sales on your release because, like I mentioned before, people just spend so much time playing this game in your server that they will feel the need to continue the story, so they will end up buying when you release. So a few examples is, for example, a few months ago, we had this week-long ARG in our server called Retro War for our game Retrograde Arena, which is an online multiplayer shoot 'em up. So we made this whole story where it's cyberpunk dystopian future. We divided our server in 3 different teams, and they had to fight each other and kill each other in the arena, and we had a bot set up that tracked their kills, and every day we had a tally of kills and winning matches, and the winners got some Steam credit prizes and free games. And we wrote a story narrative to go with the thing. So in this case, it was, cyberpunk dystopia, and every day we would release the story with the winners and the progress. So that helped a lot. Server became way more active for the week before the release, and people were playing, people were talking, people were excited about the game, they were adding it to its wish list, and when the game released, a lot of them ended up buying the game just because they spent the past week shooting each other in the face, trying to be number one. So that's pretty much it on my end, and I wouldn't be doing my job right as a publisher if I didn't plug one of our games. So Elden, Path of the Forgotten, we just released it 2 days ago on Steam. It's a top-down RPG horror game from a solo developer from Australia. It's 5 years developing the game. So check it out on Steam, and please buy it and leave a good review. So yeah, that's it from me. If you have any questions, you can email me at vlad@anotheringie.com, or you can message me on Twitter. So I wanted to leave a few minutes to Q&A, and I see some questions there. So as a Taiwanese dev team, we'd like to know if it's better to create separate channels for English and Chinese fans. Yeah, absolutely. Like, because if you have two languages, you don't need to hide them behind separate roles, but you definitely want to have one for each, because you want to have Chinese for your fans, because obviously you're Taiwanese, so you want to have accommodate your people as well, and you just need to have English, because most of the people who play games, especially in the West, when we talk about Europe and America, like everybody primarily uses English. What type of language do you recommend to learn if I want to build a Discord server? Do you mean, I assume it's a programming language, so if you want to, because you don't need to learn any programming language to build a Discord server. However, if you want to build your own Discord bot, you do need to know a programming language. Now, bots are very easy to build, and Discord is pretty straightforward when it comes to their SDK. So you can Python, C#, C++, or hell, if you want to torture yourself, you can even make a bot in Java. So pretty much any simple programming language will do. So it's easy enough to build. Our own programmer might not agree with me, but yeah, Discord bots are not that hard to work with. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, you can just email me or tag me on Twitter. And you can also use Chinese, 所以如果需要用中文的话也没关系，打字也没问题。所以 yeah, I guess I ended up a little bit early. I thought I would have a little bit more questions, but that's okay. So good luck with building the servers. I really thought I could do a more deeper dive into this, but it requires a lot more time, especially when it goes into bots and actually setting up different and special channels. But yeah, when it comes to Discord, just remember, I can't read the bottom question. Would it be a good idea to create servers for can you guys scroll up a little bit? I can't see the last like two words. One thing to remember from marketing perspective, every time you talk about your game on Twitter, Facebook, any social media, or if you do Steam announcement, have that link to your Discord server because you want to create this little funnel, so every post you make actually leads people to your server, so that way you can get everybody in one place, and then you can start marketing your game. But this is like a publisher advice. But yeah, I can't. Would it be a good idea to create servers, or for what? I can't see it. We can play a guessing game. But yeah, guys, can you scroll up a little bit on the Q&A board? So yes, perfect. Thank you very much. Would it be? See, no, not really, because you want to have everybody in one place as a company or a game dev studio. So it's just better to add separate channels, or if the community is so split by language, like there's a lot on, for example, English speakers and a lot of Chinese speakers, you can just create two different categories. So one is where all the announcement channels and all the other channels you have are just in Chinese, and another category where you have it all in another language, English, I don't know, German, French, whatever. Yeah. So it's better just to have two categories instead of making two servers. That's too much work. What's the Discord bot SDK for players to my Discord to join in game? Now that is, you can also, if you go to discord.com/developers, they will have the documentation to implement the SDK for your multiplayer game, so players can join, and it has the ready to play thing that puts on their profile, so they can join directly from through Discord, or they can post an invite link in Discord. So they have that integration in the backend. It's pretty straightforward to implement as well. You just need a few assets. You pretty much make an application, you link it to your game. It's quite easy. As a Taiwanese-based company, but target. Can you scroll again, please? Thank you. But target 100% for new institutions such as a Kickstarter or a publisher. Oh, these are publishing questions now. Look at that. So if you're focused on the US market, again, it depends how big your team is, right? If it's only a few people, I would suggest finding a publisher because the amount of marketing paperwork for consoles, PR, social media, community management you need to do as a team is a lot. So if you can get a publisher, it makes it easier because they have all the connections. Oh, my time is almost up as well. And what's the conversion rate for sale of Steam? Okay, so the last questions, can you scroll up and then we can end it. But yes, for Kickstarter or publisher, it really depends on the size of your team. But you can email me and we can talk about it. What's the conversion rate for sale of Steam wishlist in general, as it's important is highlighted so much? It's absolutely okay to ask. So normally the conversion from wishlist to sales is about 15 to 20% for your first month and about 15% your first year. But again, it depends on the amount of marketing and PR you did and how well you did that, but that would give you a tabudo, more or less, idea of the conversion. Yeah, guys, if you want to talk publishing and stuff, my Twitter's there, email there, just send me a message and we can talk. And like I said, you can say it in English or Chinese or Russian or Spanish or whatever, it's fine. We speak a lot of languages. Yeah, so that was the last questions. We always slide it into sales, but yeah, wish lists, man. All about them wish lists. So yeah, thanks for listening to my talk and hope I managed to answer a few questions and, help out a little bit. But if you have more questions, just message me. I'm pretty easy to talk to. I would love to do a deep dive, but it would require 2 or 3 hours of me talking, and I don't think you can sit through that. All right, I guess that's it.